everybody, and welcome to the SummerSlam 2011 in review. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the show, except for, we'll get to it later on, but what I didn't like about this show wasn't what was there, but what wasn't, if that makes any sense at all. But before we get to that, let's get to what was there. We opened up the show with apparently the guitarist from Tool. I don't know, because I'm not that big a Tool fan. Doing the national anthem on his guitar, which was, a lot of people, especially if you looked in the crowd, a lot of people were sort of like, what the fuck? But I thought it was kind of new, kind of different, kind of interesting. My vote is always, if they're going to televise the national anthem, whether it's US or Canada or whatever, get Lillian Garcia in there to sing it, because she's fucking amazing. And we haven't had her in a while, so that's that. But it was interesting nonetheless. And even as the, fuck off with my phone beeping at me. Even with the opening pyro and the opening videos going up, we could already see the inflatable, awesome sign thing for The Miz sitting on the stageway. So you knew that The Miz was going to be in something. Turned out, they took a whole handful of people that weren't involved in this pay-per-view, turned it into a 3-on-3 six-man tag match between Miz, R-Truth, and Alberto Del Rio versus Kofi, Kingston, Jonathan Morrison, and Rey Mysterio. Now, just some highlights. I'm not going to run through the whole match, because this match went a decent amount of time. I think this match went about 20 minutes. Everybody had their own sort of input into it. Nothing was overplayed. Nobody overshone anybody else, really. We had great tandem action with the team of Kofi and Jonathan Morrison, which was great. R-Truth going around, his intensity, his craziness is, just getting amped up more and more by the day, which we know. Miz, I will say, hit an intriguing little move, and I was actually arguing with somebody on YouTube as the show went on as to what we should call it, because if you haven't seen the show yet, there's no way I'm going to explain this with any proper accuracy, but it was as if somebody told him to do a DDT, a diamond cutter, and a stunner all at once, and a skull-crushing finale all at once, because he had him in a stunner position, but instead of, bringing it back or leaning back into it like an RKO would, he went down the same direction as the guy he did it to. I can't remember who it was, so whatever. More like a cutter, more like a stunner, but he brought the guy's head right up and over his shoulder and into the ground. So, it's another one of these situations that happens a lot, where there was an awesome move, and I have no idea what to call it, but it was one of the things that stuck out in the match. Jonathan Morrison hit what is becoming a constant, which is his great corkscrew crossbody to the outside of the ring. Rey Mysterio did not see a lot of action in this match. Not that that's really surprising, because he's getting up there and he's on his last legs and whatever. But Rey Mysterio comes in for the last couple of moments of the match and Superman's his way to victory for his team. Which was a really lame sort of letdown way for the match to end. You got a lot of other people in this match, like Miz, like Truth, like Alberto, like Jonathan Morrison, who just came back from injury, like Kofi Kingston, who could have done with the pat on the back of scoring that victory. I'm not saying that I'm pissed off or that I don't agree with the faces winning, necessarily, but if the faces were going to win, let somebody like Kofi Kingston, who has sort of gone by the wayside recently, or Jonathan Morrison, who's trying to mount a great comeback since his injury, let one of them get the win, because they're the ones that need the pat on the back. Rey doesn't need it. He is the lighter weight John Cena. He'll always be there. Give the victory to somebody else. Alright, we see Punk backstage with John Laurinaitis. John Laurinaitis demanding an apology, and CM Punk, in true CM Punk fashion, not only gives John Laurinaitis a well-worded, well-thought-out apology, dripping with sarcasm like molasses, but he also encounters Stephanie McMahon and proceeds to verbally dissect her as well, capping off that scene with her wishing him well and her wishing him good luck in the match tonight, and him saying, "I'm not going to shake your hand because I know where it's been." And it's just beautiful. Next, we have Sheamus versus Mark Henry, which I was pleasantly surprised by. I was really going into this match thinking it was going to be a big guy versus big guy, strength versus strength match, which, as you all know, I'm not a very big fan of. But Sheamus, from the minute he got onto the rampway towards the ring, you could see in his face, in his demeanor, in his attitude, in his body language, attitude going to the ring, that he loves this new face. He loves the crowd reaction he's getting now, and it is powering him. I'm thoroughly convinced of that. He had a great start off to the match. He had, quicker quicker, faster moves on Sheamus, on Mark Henry, until Mark Henry starts to ragdoll him hard. And for this match, for Mark Henry, who like a couple months ago nobody gave a shit about, there was some serious crowd heat for Mark Henry, was there not? Gets Sheamus over his shoulder for the really bad sort of over the shoulder backbreaker, neckbreaker type of hold, and then sets him up on the ropes for what I call the landslide. I don't know what it's actually called, but when he's got him set up on the ropes, kind of like Ray does for a 619, except he slides his whole body weight along the back of the guy's head, which is really, like, it looks almost kind of silly when he does it, but you figure that's like 400 something pounds coming down on somebody's neck. Even though wrestling is scripted, as we know it is, you know that he's going to feel that the next morning, regardless. Sheamus starts an amazing comeback after a missed splash by Mark Henry. Sheamus goes to the top rope for a top rope shoulder block on Mark Henry, which, you know, a shoulder block is a shoulder block, and thanks to John Cena, we're not used to them looking that good. But Sheamus pulled off one that was really good. Brogue kicks Mark Henry out of the ring, which is, you know, one of those things where it's like, if he had stayed in the ring, this would have ended the match. But no. Gets out to the outside. Mark Henry shakes himself out of it, slams him up against the ring post, and World's Strongest slams him through the guardrail to get a count-out victory over Sheamus. This rivalry is definitely going to go on past this. It could go into Night of Champions. I could see this rivalry going into not SummerSlam, that's what we're talking about now, Survivor Series. I could see this going until Survivor Series. And you know what? If you had said that to me yesterday, I would have groaned a lot. But after what I saw tonight from both of them, I won't mind it if they do it next month and then carry it right through to Night of Champions and carry it through on Raw, carry it through on SmackDown, whatever, and do it to death. Yeah, by Survivor Series, I'll be sick of it. But if they can put on another sort of mid-range match at Night of Champions and then have some sort of big final match at Survivor Series, based on what I saw tonight, I think it could be very good and really surprising coming from Mark Henry. Because like I said, did anybody think we'd be talking about Mark Henry like we are now, like say a month or 2 months ago? No, we didn't. Christian talks in the back about his supposed insurance policy that he has to beat Randy Orton in their no-holds-barred match. He's not worried at all. He's got the plan. CeeLo Green comes out and performs, and I will not lie to you. I will not lie to any of you. That is my opportunity to go to the bathroom. That is my opportunity to go get more snacks and whatever. When I done all that, I came back and he was still out there and whatever, covered in all kinds of jewels and big guy. And I mentioned this to the people I was chatting with on Facebook, so this is not going to be a new thing for them. But I looked at this guy who I've never seen before. I'm not a rap, pop music guy. I listen to Linkin Park and Disturbed and good shit like that. But I looked at this guy and I'm like, wow, it's a chocolate Dusty Rhodes. Yeah. And the funniest part ever was when they panned across to the crowd and half the kids in the crowd were like, what the fuck is this? So that was that. Kelly versus Beth Phoenix. Much like Sheamus did in the previous match, Kelly came out as the smaller person. Got a lot of relatively decent offense in it. When I say decent by Diva standards. But Beth, completely destroys any advantage she was getting by press slamming her high up and then clotheslining her on the ropes. And then Beth Phoenix proceeds to use the same over-the-shoulder backbreaker that Mark Henry used in the previous match. And Kelly counters the glam slam into a roll-up for the win, proving, if anybody didn't believe it already, that Kelly is the John Cena of the women's division. WWE had a good thing going in the Divas division with Natalya and Beth Phoenix, and they just shot it before it could grow. That's very sad. We go to the back, we see Stephanie McMahon coming out of John Cena's locker room, and everyone, oh no, there's a conspiracy, da-da-da-da-da. And speaking of conspiracies, we go back, and we see R-Truth talking about how he should have won the match earlier tonight, da-da-da-da, and he's talking to Jimmy Hart. And he starts taking advice from Jimmy Hart and whatever, until he realizes that his name is Jimmy. And then he calls him Little Jimmy, and then this and that, and da-da-da-da, and I can't do it any justice, but it was a well-played-up comical moment that I think both R-Truth and Jimmy Hart, for that matter, deserve a lot of respect for. Next, we had Daniel Bryan versus Wade Barrett. I loved this match. this match was the dark horse of the night. The crowd went nuts for Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan looked amazingly strong with Wade Barrett, especially with their side, the way he tied him up in so many submission moves, being that Wade Barrett is so much bigger than him. Very, very impressive. Wade Barrett at one point in the match hit a wicked black hole slam, better than Abyss in TNA could ever hope to pull off. It was so fluid and yet so impactful at the same time that it was absolutely amazing. He had Daniel Bryan took Wade Barrett at one point from a chokehold and body scissors position to a label lock position fluidly. Like, this submission isn't working, this submission isn't working, let's try this submission. And that was, unfortunately, it got countered, and Wasteland gets the victory for Wade Barrett, which I'm not going to crow a lot about, because Wade Barrett did do his fair share of work in this match, and Daniel Bryan still came out looking like friggin' gold, looking very, 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 very convincing is the word I'm going to use. But I don't think, if the way this match went and the quality of match that they put out with this match, neither one of them would have lost anything by losing, even if it had been Wade Barrett. Christian versus Orton, no holds barred. Christian comes out to make his announcement. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I've got an ace up my sleeve. Da 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 da. And here it is. It's Edge. Oh, Edge comes out. Edge comes out. You know, enjoys the crowd pop, enjoys the cheers and all that. Turns to Christian and says, "Yeah, I was really proud of you when you won the title. I was really, really proud of you when you were the champion. And then the second time you won it, you did it like a bitch, more or less. You have to hear it from me because I'm your friend and you're not going to listen to anybody else. You've become a whining, complaining little bitch." And then he leaves. And then Orton comes out, and the look on Christian's face, he needs credit for because it's priceless. He's watching Edge leave, he's watching Orton come to the ring, and he looks like a guy going to the gallows. Great brawling started off, brawling in the crowd. When they were brawling in the crowd, it almost reminded me of a TNA hardcore match. I'm not entirely sure why, because the crowd is like up-teen times bigger than a TNA crowd, but it was my thought at the time, and I wrote it down, so yeah. Randy Orton's intense as hell. Christian, as far as intensity goes, was trying to keep up. Like, that was not an even comparison whatsoever, but Christian does come back with an amazing spine buster once they do make it back to the ring. One thing I'm going to say, Randy Orton should not do the Thez press, because he doesn't do it properly at all. He basically looks like he's throwing his crotch at his opponent, and it looks really sloppy. Orton suplexed Christian onto a table in the middle of the ring, but the table was still folded, and I like that. Not only is it different, but if you put somebody through a table, yeah, it hurts because they've hit a table, but it breaks, and it's got give, and you keep falling. You suplex somebody onto a folded table, not only is all the metal apparatus still up under it, it's not going to break, and you don't have anywhere to fall once you've hit it. That's a more intense impact, and it sounded, louder, which is also a lot more effective. So it's a little twist on an old favorite as far as the tables go. There, and then I've lost my place, guys. I'm sorry. I wrote these less than an hour ago, and I cannot read my own writing now. Orton has his series of intense RKOs on the Spanish announce table, and that's that. Christian gets him back in the ring with a kill switch and a close near fall. Christian, from this point onward, as he's gathering more weapons, as he's gathering chairs, whatever, he spends the rest of this match looking like he's in a daze, like he's absolutely out of it. Like, if he got shot in the head with something, he's trying to sell it really well, but he just looked really, really dazed after that. Tried for the concerto, the old Edge and Christian double team move, but that missed. At this point, Orton already had the steps in the ring. Christian tried for some sort of top rope move. I'm not quite sure what he was going for, but Orton caught him, RKO'd him down on the bottom section, the big, wide bottom section of the steps, and gets the 1, 2, 3. Now, the fear, of course, with this is now Orton has the belt again, and Christian's going to have his rematch clause, so this is going to go to Night of Champions, or possibly Survivor Series. It's time for something new with the World Heavyweight Championship scene. Orton needs to go do something else, because Orton is one of those guys that's big enough now, he doesn't need the belt anymore. Orton needs to step aside, work on something else, have a rivalry with somebody else, let somebody like Sheamus step up. And anybody that saw SmackDown last week knows that Sheamus and Christian put on a decent match until Christian walked away. But that's good for the heel heat, isn't it? So yeah, Orton's your winner. Orton is your new World Heavyweight Champion. for now. Yeah. Cena versus Punk. Cena gets a huge pop, and Cena not so much at the beginning, as you could probably predict. The match starts off slow, even shot, shot for shot, kick for kick, punch for punch type thing. The chanting throughout this entire match made me smile, made it epic. But the typical "you can't wrestle" stuff comes up, and every time somebody says "you can't wrestle," Punk sort of perks up and listens and smiles and grins and whatever. The annoying part about the beginning of this match was every time Punk had him in a really decent looking submission, Cena would just sort of Superman himself out of it. Like Punk would have him in what should be a devastating submission move, and Cena would just sort of stand up and brush him off. But Cena doesn't like to sell anybody, so that's fine. We started getting the Fruity Pebbles chants. We had a really, really nice submission countering sequence where we had CM Punk in a chokehold with the leg that I don't think I've seen before. So again, I don't know what to call it, but we countered from that to the STF by Cena, to the Anaconda Vice by CM Punk, back to the STF, and then we shoved Cena out of the ring. Punk with a nice suicide dive knocks them both out on the outside. Triple H starts a 10 count and gets to 9 and decides no, it's not going to end that way, goes out into the ring, doesn't attack anybody, doesn't do anything like that, which is what I assumed was going to happen at that point, just picks them both up equally, just shoves them back into the ring. We get a run of near falls, we get a run of attitude adjustment, go to sleep counters. It's interesting with these two guys when they counter each other's finishers, because each one of their finishers starts the same way. So they really, really, in a lot of ways, and sort of the same thing with the submissions as well, they started to mirror each other a lot, which I don't like to admit, because Punk is leaps and bounds above Cena. But, Punk gets Cena down at one point, and Punk gets Cena down at one point, climbs the ropes, and goes up for the Macho Man elbow drop, which was followed by a huge, loud, screaming "Thank you, Savage" chant, which I really, really liked. That was great. That's big props from me to the LA crowd for that one. After that, there's another knee shot and GTS, and Punk gets the win, even though Cena's foot is on the ropes. So my thought at that exact moment was, oh god, they're going to continue this in the exact same formula that they continued Orton and Christian when they had the foot on the rope. But I didn't have to worry about that, really, because out comes fucking Kevin Nash. Oh yes, big, dirty jackknife powerbomb on CM Punk. Which is fine, and Triple H looks confused, and Triple H is looking around, and out comes Alberto Del Rio, says, "I'm cashing in my Money in the Bank," brings his own referee. Triple H sits there looking more and more confused. Then Alberto Del Rio gets a quick kick at the back of CM Punk's head, gets the quick roll-up victory, and Alberto Del Rio is your new champion. A lot happened in about 5 minutes there. But anyways, Alberto Del Rio is your new champion. So Alberto Del Rio is your new champion. I really don't know what to say other than that. Scores, fails, and MVP. The scores. Bryan and Wade Barrett had a great match. Overall, they both came out of it looking great. Wade Barrett got the win. I don't think it's going to do anything too bad to Daniel Bryan's ascension in the WWE. The opener, the six-man tag. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Rey Mysterio, I think they could have taken Mysterio and Del Rio out and put in Ziggler and Arai in their places. I thought it was a great sort of, this is a pile of talent that we didn't have any stories to do, but we still wanted to make sure they got some pay-per-view time, and here's what our talent can do when we throw them in a random situation. It was a random pile of talent opener, for lack of a better term. I already talked about in the Orton Christian match, the superplex onto the folding table. I just think, like I say, it wasn't something totally new and totally unforeseen. It was just it was a new twist. It was something different. It wasn't the same old pattern of put one guy on a table, the other guy climb, fuck off, phone. It wasn't, sort of like the TLC standards of put one guy on a table, one guy climbs the ladder, and they do what they do. It was different, and different always sticks out. Don't you agree? If you don't agree, the box is down there for a reason. Punk. After all the bullshit that happened at the end of his match, Punk is the one that comes out strong, and I will tell you why. Not only did he once again beat John Cena, WWE's golden boy. Yeah, his foot was on the rope, but you know what? If he got the 1, 2, 3, it means Cena couldn't kick out. Which means if they would have been an inch this way or this way, it would be clean, and Cena could not get his ass up. Now, he's not the champion, so he just got buried, right? Absolutely not. It took a half-hour match with John Cena, a sneak attack from Kevin Nash, and a perfectly fresh Alberto Del Rio to beat Mr. CM Punk. So even though Del Rio is the champion, he did about 1 minute of work. Punk is the one that comes out looking like a fucking superstar in this show, even though he's not the champion, and I like that. Score goes to the surprise appearance of Kevin Nash on one condition. The fact that he came in the way he did and he ultimately led to Del Rio being the champion means one of two things. Either he's coming back for one last run so that he can take his rightful spot in the WWE Hall of Fame. I would love that. I would love to see him have a decent rivalry with either Punk or Triple H, Del Rio, Cena, somebody like that. One great last run, get a match in at either Survivor Series or WrestleMania. So, cap off your career nicely, go to the Hall of Fame and, get your gold watch and go and retire. That's fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever. The other option is, did he come in to help Alberto because he's become Alberto's sidekick? Alberto had Brodus Clay back in the day. Shawn Michaels had Diesel, who, for those of you who don't know, is Kevin Nash, for you younger viewers out there. If in the last stages of his career, Kevin Nash is coming back as a sidekick character, I will cry tears of sorrow for his career. That is what I will say about that. Now, the fails, and there are lots of them. Oh yes, I said at the beginning I would not call this a perfect pay-per-view, not because of what was there, but for what was not there. I would have bet money that they would have played up on the developing rivalry between Alex Riley and Dolph Ziggler at this show, or at least had one of them call the other one out or something, but they did not. They didn't do anything like that. Neither of those guys were even on the card, and those are two of the building blocks that the WWE is going to be built on the next couple years, and I have no problem saying that whatsoever. The fact that they weren't there. The fact that the new Intercontinental Champion, Cody Rhodes, and Ezekiel Jackson's rivalry hasn't gone anywhere since Friday was another surprising one. Therefore, neither the U.S. title or the Intercontinental title were defended at the second biggest pay-per-view of the year. Neither were the tag team titles, which are kind of a joke, but being that it is the big pay-per-view that it is, they should have been represented. Even if they were in some back scene sketch or whatever, there's 4 title holders and, their respective potential challengers that were completely ignored when this card was put together. There was only 6 matches. The tag match could have been shorter. We could have done without, Chocolate Dusty Rhodes and his little, I don't even know what the hell to call his performance. We could have done without bullshit like that. Had Ziggler versus Alex Riley. We could have had a rematch, Cody Rhodes versus Ezekiel Jackson. We could have even had, right now they're putting the gold on Otunga and McGillicuddy, so they're trying to push them as the big tag team. You could have even had them go over a couple of jobbers just to remind people, yeah, these are our tag champions, and they look strong. But, of course, they didn't. During the opening match, every time Booker T tried to talk about Kofi Kingston, he tried to force a really, really bad African accent. I don't think that's respectful to Kofi Kingston, to himself, or to anybody listening. That's all I'm going to say about that. Going into this, I didn't think Alberto Del Rio was going to be on the card at all. So this comment that I've got here was obviously written before the ending of the thing. But what I had written here was, why is Alberto Del Rio, your Money in the Bank guy, your future champion, part of a 6-person tag curtain-jerking match at the beginning of the night? And why is Daniel Bryan losing? That's both guys that you're telling the company are going to be the future champions, and, up until right at the end when Alberto Del Rio did in fact cash in, it looked as if they weren't being treated very favorably on this pay-per-view at all. The 6-man tag. I have a lot of issues with the 6-man tag, if you can't tell. 5 guys put a lot of effort into that match. Miz, who's awesome. R-Truth, whose character keeps going up and up and up. Del Rio, who is as great as we know he is. Kofi Kingston, who's kind of fallen by the wayside a little bit as far as getting a big push. John Morrison, who they're trying to push, because he's just come back from injury and playing up with his popularity and all that. And so, like I say, 5 guys that I have a lot of respect for, and Rey Mysterio. Those 5 guys go in and work their asses off for the entire 20 minutes or however long the match was. Not only does Rey Mysterio go in and Superman at the end, but he gets the credit for the win. I don't like that. That's not reflective of the efforts put forth in the match. That's all I've got. I mean, I don't have anything else, but it's just I don't like the fact that Rey did hardly any work and the win gets accredited to him. MVP of the night for this. I'm actually torn for the first time since I've done, score fail and MVP. So I'm going to have co-MVPs tonight. The co-MVPs for tonight are CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. So, that is what it is. Don't think there's anything else really to be said, and it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning, so I should probably wrap things up. So this was your SummerSlam 2011 review. I've been Spaz. Subscribe up there, talk down there. I need lots more questions for my first Q&A, guys. Come on, bring them on. I will talk to all you guys later. Don't be a stranger. Bye.